Alright guys, welcome to another first ride and review brought to you by Cycles128. And today we're going to be reviewing an absolutely beautiful 2013 Kawasaki Ninja 636. Let's get to it.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Alright, so before we actually go ahead and get rolling, just want to show you guys a couple of different features about the new model 636. This model does have two different riding modes. It has full and it has low. So you can see there, F and L. Right now we're on low. We're going to keep it in full. Kawasaki traction control, you have three different settings, 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, it goes lowest to highest. So if you're on 1, you have the lowest level of traction control enabled. The higher you go up, the more you have. We're going to put it in full and at 1. We're going to go ahead and roll out of here and get this review started. Alright, so you guys know that the Ninja 636 is very dear to my heart, given the fact that I have a 2005 Ninja 636, and I was very, very interested in seeing the differences between my second gen model and this 2013 third gen Ninja 636. For those of you who don't know, the Ninja 636 began in the United States in 2003. It ran from 2003 to 2006. In 2007, they stopped production of the 636 and went back down to the standard 599-600. Back by popular demand in 2013, this being the first year that it was back, Kawasaki brought it back. They got a lot of people that really wanted the 636 back, including myself. I absolutely love my 05, and I think it's the perfect size engine. A lot of people like the 750s. I'm a fan of the 636. The main complaint you get from people on 600s is the lack of low-end torque. You kind of don't really have that issue with the 636. Granted, a lot of people say, well, compared to the normal 599cc 600s, you're only gaining 37 cc's. But surprisingly, that 37 cc's does a lot. You wouldn't expect to notice the amount of low end that you do just from gaining those 37 cc's, but you really do gain a pretty sizable amount of low end. First time I rode this bike was just a couple days ago, and like I said, I was very curious to see how it compares to my bike. I gotta say, guys, I really like the current model 636. Everything about it is very smooth. If I had to compare it to another Japanese sport bike, for those of you who have ridden a CBR 600, the newer model ones, you really 08 to current, they're one of the most smooth sport bikes you'll ever touch. And this is exactly that. Everything it does is just so fluid, it's so silky smooth. The power band is very even throughout the rev range. Obviously, being that it's in that 600 class, once you get up in the RPMs is when it really wakes up. But the power delivery of the bike is very, very, very smooth. I do want to talk about the two different riding modes. Like I said in the beginning, you have the full and the low. Obviously, most people are going to keep it in that full power mode setting, but you do have the option to drop it down to low. Basically what that does In full mode, you're gonna have about 112 horsepower and about 46 foot-pounds of torque. In the low mode, you're gonna have about 86 horsepower-ish and only about 41 foot-pounds of torque. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm not too sure exactly what the point of it was. But I mean, I'm guessing if you're just putting around town, if you're going through the city, drop down to low, and you're probably going to experience, I mean, you're definitely going to experience better gas mileage. And you know, I mean, I guess it would be a good wet mode styled map for whenever you kind of get stuck in some crappy weather. You can throw it in that low setting, and it'll reduce the power to the rear wheel, save you from spinning the wheel a bit. But other than that, I really honestly don't see a need to ever really use the low mapping. But you do have the 3 different levels of Kawasaki traction control, which is nice. I could actually kind of feel it working through one of the corners whenever I was riding it the first day. Went in really hot to a corner just to kind of see if I could engage that traction control a little bit, and you could feel it kind of fighting you to slow it down a little bit, which was nice. It was showing me that it was actually working, because obviously I'm not able to do this review on a track. I'm doing it on the highway and back and forth to work. Alright, so even though this is a used 2013, it only has, as you can see on the instrument cluster there, 92 miles, basically brand new. And being that it's a 2013, current models are 2015s, and pretty much for all intents and purposes it's the exact same bike. Nothing's changed. It looks the same engine, same electronics, nothing's really different. So that allows this review to still stay pretty current with the current models that are out. Styling wise, as you can see from the beginning, I think it's an absolutely stunning bike. Absolutely gorgeous. Great stopping power. Beautiful lines, beautifully designed. And in my personal opinion, I feel like Kawasaki, at least in regards to the Japanese brands, usually always has the best looking bikes. Say what you want about the Kawi Green, they make other colors. They always have amazing looking bikes, in my personal opinion. I think my 05 is one of the best looking bikes ever made. I will never get rid of my 05. And the more I see this current gen 636, the more and more I fall in love with it. I think it's an absolutely gorgeous bike. I think the lines are just so clean. Everything is just done perfect. With some tasteful mods done to it, I think looks wise it's dang near untouchable. It's a really beautiful bike. I think Kawasaki did a great job with it, so kudos to them for that. Performance wise, you're going to have Nissan dual caliper front brakes, so 2 calipers up in the front for the front wheel, which is pretty much a given for any sport bike. Every sport bike comes with dual calipers up in the front, and then you have a Nissan single caliper in the rear. Stopping power is very good. As you'll see, I got a little bit of space behind me, so I'm going to coast and then touch the brake, hold front end nosedives. Braking power is very good on this bike. Very good. Just shows you don't have to have Brimbos to be able to stop on a dime. The brakes on this bike are very good. They're very touchy. For the first little bit that you ride it, it takes a little bit of getting used to, because it literally takes one finger to make this bike nosedive right into the ground. It's great. Rear brake as well, very good stopping power. I just touch it, and as you can see on the speedometer, we're going to go 32 miles an hour, just rear brake, just locked up the rear brake, barely touching it. It's very easy to lock up the rear brake. So the good part is stopping power, utilizing both brakes at the same time, is going to get you from whatever speed you are to 0 very quickly. The Nissan calipers work fantastically. Power delivery, as I said earlier in the video, very quick. It is not a fly-by-wire driven throttle. It's still the old school cable, but as you can see, we just went from 35 to 52 very quickly. It still kind of stays true to that 600 stereotype. There's not a ton of torque. Like I said, you got 46 foot-pounds of torque. I believe that was at like 13.5 RPM. But like I also stated, it's still more than your typical 600 since you have that extra 36 cc's, 37 cc's technically. But the numbers don't really do what it feels justice. The numbers don't really do it justice as far as how it feels when you ride it. This thing pulls very good. The only way to really compare it is to kind of throw it in the same conversation as like a Daytona 675 or a MV Agusta F3. 675 obviously, not an 800. I've ridden both of those, and power delivery wise it feels very similar. Especially in something like second gear going 30 miles an hour, you get it pretty quickly. There is no shortage of power. Don't get it confused. The fact that it's a 600 means that there's not a ton of power. This thing wants to go fast, and it likes going fast. Especially coming from my bike, is the fact that it is a very streamlined bike. It is a very streamlined bike. My 05 is rather bodacious. They're bigger bikes. They're not heavy. They're just styled in a more round, larger feel. This bike feels like I compared it a little earlier. It feels like a CBR 600 in a way. CBR 600s have always been very narrow. This bike feels very narrow when you're on it. It feels extremely light whenever you pull it up off the kickstand and you get up on it. It does not feel like a big bike at all whatsoever. It is a very nimble, flickable, light bike, and it's got gobs of power. Like I said, 112 horsepower, and you can use every single bit of it, and it wants you to use every single bit of it. I absolutely love this bike. I told my wife I'm probably going to end up with my 05 636 in the garage, and next year a 2016 636 in the garage right next to it, because I really do love this bike. Look at that. Woo! Nosedive. It's a great bike. Like I said, nimble. Very nimble. It just wants to jump around, as you can see. Flicking it around like it's nothing. In regards to the instrument cluster, one of my favorite parts about the bike is you do have a gear indicator, which is great. Aside from that, you'll have your analog tachometer, which I really like. I do like staying on the analog side for the tachometer. I feel like it gives you a more true representation of what you're actually reading in regards to seeing your RPMs. My 05 has a digital tachometer. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Does get the job done. Takes a little bit of getting used to though. And then obviously there on the right you got your speedometer, 61 miles an hour. You got your engine temperature right below your gear indicator. And then up top you got your fuel mapping, which obviously we're in full mode right now. And then below it's going to give you your Kawasaki traction control. You're going to control your power and your traction control by this lever right here on the left. Hold on the power side, which is the top, and it'll switch you to the low mode. Obviously you can be on throttle engaging on the motorcycle when you do that. You can adjust the traction control down here. Hold down the traction control and you can actually see it just made the front dive because I adjusted the traction control. We're going to go ahead, turn it back to 1. I don't really want too much input from the traction control. I like doing it more on my own than having a bunch of electronic assists. I feel like it kind of takes away from riding the bike when you have the computer doing a whole bunch of stuff for you. But on a nice wet day, it is definitely a good thing to have. Makes life a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable. Yeah, I really can't get over how smooth the power band is. It's just all of the power delivery is just so fluid. It makes riding the bike just so much more enjoyable. That is probably my favorite part about the bike. There's no vibration in the handlebars whatsoever. Everything is just so smooth and fluid. And for a bike with a stock exhaust, this actually sounds really good. And I am okay with that. I bet this thing with a Competition Works exhaust would scream. Only real thing that I don't like about this bike, which is the first thing that I would get rid of, are the mirrors. I think they look terrible, but on a good note, I think they function absolutely marvelously. Once you adjust them, they're great. I barely even see my arm in the mirror. I think that they're absolutely beautiful. Aside from the fact that they are absolutely ugly, I think they do a very good job. Which a lot of mirrors on bikes, it doesn't matter how much you adjust them, all I can usually see is like my shoulder or my elbow. I feel like Kawasaki did a great job in these mirrors, making it that they are actually usable, unlike a lot of other bikes. When I rode the F3 675 from MV Agusta, I literally couldn't adjust the mirror enough to where I could actually use it, which was very annoying to me. Very annoying to me. Aside from the things I've covered, guys, I don't think there's really too much else. I mean, it's an amazing bike. I have absolutely fallen in love. I want one, and I want one now. Obviously I wouldn't get the Kawi Green just because those aren't really my colors. They don't go with me. But an all white one or an all black one would be really good. I would be okay with that. But as far as this bike goes, performance wise, feel, I really think Kawasaki hit the nail on the head. This is one of my favorite 600s I've ever ridden. I've ridden the Daytona 675, I've ridden the MV Agusta F3 675, I have my 05 Ninja 636. I've ridden a ton of 600s, and this is absolutely my favorite. Like, not even close. Like, it's not even a question. This is absolutely my favorite 600 I've ever ridden. I could definitely see myself on this. But that is really it, guys. Oh, as far as comfort while you're on it, yeah, it is a super sport, so you are somewhat hunched over, but not to the point where it's going to get uncomfortable. My bike is lowered an inch in the front to give it a more aggressive seating position, so being on this bike for the past 3 days has been like a vacation, because I don't feel like I have any pressure at all. A decently, not upright obviously, but as far as sport bikes go, it's not too crazy. Definitely like it. Suspension really eats up the bumps, which is great. Especially living around Boston, these bumps can get a little out of control. But the suspension, especially for a 600, usually have a little bit softer, not as high quality suspension, and especially as like the leader bikes. But the suspension on this thing, it eats the bumps up like it's nothing. I don't feel half of the bumps on this bike that I do on my bike. So that was a very pleasant surprise, because most 600, it doesn't matter what 600 you're on, you're going to feel the bumps. This one just kind of soaks them up. But all in all, guys, I'm going to have to say that Kawasaki did an amazing job on this bike. They've definitely got me hooked. I want one, and that's not even a joke. I can't wait to get to the point where I can purchase my first actual brand new bike, because this will most likely be the one that I choose. Even though I want to get a leader bike just simply because I commute so much, and with gas mileage and just kind of comfort of ride on the highway, it makes more sense. But I love this bike, so come check it out. Cycles 128 in Beverly, Massachusetts on 107 Brimbal Avenue. She'll be sitting right up front and center, right in front of the showroom. So come check it out, come see it, come touch it, come hear it. We got it there available for anyone that's interested, and hope you guys enjoyed this first ride and review. Have a good one, guys. Peace.